is moved to the second position in the English sentence. Okay. Now we have an interesting situation, and we have a very powerful technique from machine learning, which comes to our rescue. So let's note this carefully. If we knew the translation of each word, then we would know the alignment of each word also. By alignment, what I mean is, what is the position of the ith word in the source sentence, in the target sentence? How has the position changed? So if we know the translation of each word, I know the alignment, and if I know the alignment, I know the translation. Isn't it? What do you say? If I know the alignment, I know the translation. If I know the translation, I know the alignment. Okay? So these two things are interlinked, and we know neither. We do not know either of them. Okay? Now there is a very nice situation in machine learning where ignorance is not always bad. Okay? In particular, if you have two ignorances and if they are interlinked, then they can interact with each other. Very funnily, huh? Two ignorances interacting with each other and leading to knowledge. That's the strange. Two ignorances helping us to go to knowledge. Okay? So this is a typical EM situation, expectation maximization. So let's look at this. Okay? Let's look at the maths. So probability of f given E is modeled by means of probability of f comma a given E, where a is the alignment variable. The alignment, every different alignment will give rise to a different f. Okay. And this operation of summing over all possible alignments is called marginalization, a standard technique in statistics, in probability. So PRF given E is PRF comma A given E over all possible alignments. Now we see what to do with this expression. So PRF given E is sigma A over PRF comma A given E. PRF comma A given E is PR of F comma A comma M given E, where M is the length of the string. So let me do the maths first, then we'll see the intuition. Both steps are marginalization steps. After this, there is a set of mechanical steps by which we come to a very useful formula. So now we can apply chain rule or Bayes theorem. So PR F comma A comma M given E is PR M given E into PR F comma A given M comma E. So M has been isolated and it has gone to the conditioning part. Now what we do is that this F and A, they are strings, you remember? Okay. F has a length of M, A also has a length of M. So we have F1, F2 up to Fm, A1, A2 up to Am. Now this step is a bit tricky. We combine Fj and Aj. Now by applying chain rule, we'll see that PR F comma A given M comma E is PR Fj Aj given M comma E and given A1 to J minus 1 and F1 to J minus 1. So all those F and A pairs, okay, F and A pairs given M and E and the previous F and A pairs. Okay, so this is standard chain rule. Now I apply chain rule on this pair again, Fj. So I'll get PR Aj given all these quantities multiplied by PR Fj given all these quantities, but I am adding Aj to A1 to J minus 1. So that becomes A1 to J. Okay, and I have this nice formula. The translation model PRF given E is sigma over all possible n, all possible lengths, PRM given E into a product of PRAJ and PRFJ with some conditioning variables. All this is very standard probability, step-by-step probability, marginalization and chain rule. So now is this formula intuitive? choose the English sentence corresponding to the best possible probability value. This is the argmax computation. Give me that English sentence whose probability is the highest. Now, this probability will go up if the length is maintained, length is some reasonable quantity. If the alignment is good, that means the words move to correct positions, and if the lexical mappings are good, if the word translations are good. So these three quantities in the probability expression capture three important parameters of translation: length, positioning, and mapping. That's all. So this is a very nice formula. It came from IBM, yes, and gave rise to 5 models of IBM. The assembly is based on this foundation. So, is the length to be considered? Yes. If the sentence length, if the target output sentence length is very different from the source language's source sentences length, then we would suspect that something is wrong. Okay? If the source language sentence is a length of 10, and if the output sentence has length of 2 or 50, then something is wrong. Okay? So we should discount those possibilities by punishing in terms of a probability parameter, which is probability of m given. So, this is the notion of this formula. Just last time, one more time. This captures mapping, this captures positioning, this captures length. These are the figures. Now, where does EM come? EM comes in computing the probability of the alignment. It is computed in the following way. I'll first take an example. Take an example. You have two parallel corpora, 3 rabbits, and the French sentence is Troya Lapin. Rabbits of Grenoble, Lapin de Grenoble. Notice that there is no reference to any meaning of the words and sentence. Nobody is telling us that rabbit is an animal. Okay? Lapin also definitely an animal. Is animate. Rabbit is a noun. Nobody is telling us all this. All we are given is a set of parallel sentences. And from this, we would like to discover the mapping between words. Is it possible? Okay. This is possible if we notice that this is an expectation maximization situation, because we have two ignorances. We do not know the transition of the words, and we do not know where they have moved to after transition. Okay? We do not know alignment, we do not know the mapping. So now let me first give a basic idea about the EM algorithm on this alignment. Initially, we have this parallel corpora. A is 3, B is rabbit, W is Troya, X is Lapin, B is rabbit, C is off, Grenoble is D, X is Lapin, Y is D, Grenoble is Z. So we have to establish a mapping from A, B, C, D to W, X, Y, Z. And what we have initially is a probability table where, in absence of any knowledge, the best we can do is that W maps A probability 1 by 4, with B 1 by 4, C 1 by 4, D 1 by 4. Because we have no other knowledge, all mappings are possible. Okay? We start with this probability. Now we move to what is called a count. Okay? So that count is an expected count. Only thing is that it is also normalized. So the count of, for example, the times A and W map. Okay? Given this parallel corpus A, B, X, 3 rabbits, Troya Lapin. This is the probability T A maps to W multiplied by the count of A in AB multiplied by the count of W in WX divided by a normalizing factor. Like an expected count. Okay? Now this was 1 by 4, 1 by 4 plus 1 by 4. The denominator is A mapping to anything other than W, including W. And 1 and 1 are the counts of A and W. Okay? So something like an expected count has been obtained. from this expected count, we create this count table. Okay. So for ABWX parallel corpus, this is the count table. For BCD XYZ parallel corpus, this is the count table. Okay. These numbers are fine, you can verify later. Application of this formula. From counts, we obtain the revised probability. Probability is always count by summation of counts. So this becomes T revised, which is the count divided by count of AW in the first parallel corpus, count of AW in the second parallel corpus. In the second parallel corpus, there is no A and W, therefore everything is here. Okay. So this T revised or the revised probability is now stored in the probability table. Revise the probability. From revised probability, we obtain the revised count. From revised count, we obtain the revised probability again. So this goes on. Okay, revised probability, revised count, revised probability, revised count. So this goes on. This is the expectation maximization algorithm. And we see that gradually this mapping of X and B, Rabbit and Lapa, begins to win. This has become 85 by 142 now, after 3 iterations. Since the probability must come to 1, other probability values will be suppressed to 0. Okay? And this has become the winner eventually when the algorithm stops. This will happen. Now, how did it work actually? It worked because there was a slight advantage of BX mapping in terms of its count being higher than other. Okay, Rabbit and Lapa appeared twice in 2 parallel corpora, and it seized that advantage and became the winner. This is a very characteristic situation for EM algorithm because EM is a greedy algorithm. It maximizes the data likelihood. Okay. At every step, it maximizes the data likelihood. Because of its greedy nature, it can get stuck in local maximum. If it is not stuck in a local maximum, then it will give the correct mapping. But there is no such guarantee. Okay. But remember, we started with 2 ignorances. We have come to a state of knowledge, but that state of knowledge has this uncertainty that the algorithm can get stuck in a local. So now, this is the procedure. What is the theory behind? The theory is the derivation, the derivation of the maximum likelihood estimate expression and its differentiation. So here is the example. Assume that the vocabulary of language L1, say English, is VE. Vocabulary of language L2, say Hindi, is VF. We have 2 parallel corpora. What is in a name? Naam mein kya hai? And another parallel corpus, that which we call rose by any other name will smell as sweet. The famous quote from Shakespeare. जिसे हम गुलाब कहते हैं और भी किसी नाम से उसकी खुशबू समान मीठा होगी. Okay? So this is the parallel corpus given to us, 2 sentences. From this, we obtain the vocabulary of English, what is in a name that we expect, and vocabulary of Hindi, naam mein kya hai. And when we arrange these words in alphabetical order on both sides, we will get a dictionary of the 2 languages. And what do we want? What is our ultimate goal? Our goal is to establish mappings between VE and VF along with the probability value. Okay? So this is the formulation now. We have VE and VF as the vocabulary of English and the foreign language. The number of parallel sentences is S. The first parallel sentence is E11, E12, E1L1, F11, F12, F1N1. Second sentence is E21, E22, E2L2, F21, F2, F2M, and so on. And there are S such parallel sentences. The number of words on English side in the essay sentence is LS. Number of words on the French side in the essay sentence is MS. Okay. We introduce a very important variable called index ESP, index of English word ESP in English vocabulary or the dictionary. Similarly, index of F FSQ is the index of French word FSQ in the French vocabulary. Okay. Now we are talking of a different language, which is the mathematical treatment. We introduce a hidden variable, ZPQS. This is equal to 1 if in the essence sentence the Pth English word is mapped to the Qth French word. Otherwise, ZPQS is equal to 0. So this particular hidden variable, this particular variable is hidden because we do not know the alignment. And there are these parameters which is of our interest, ultimate interest. Pij is the probability that the ith word in English vocabulary is mapped to jth word in the French vocabulary. Okay. So this is a nice setting. All the elements and all the parameters which we are interested in are in place now. Our quantity of interest is Pij. What does the ith English word map to in the French vocabulary, the foreign word vocabulary? So how do we tackle this problem? We appeal to maximum likelihood estimate. So given these parameters Pij and the hidden variables ZPQ, we can obtain the likelihood of the data. This is the likelihood of the data. I am not going to derive this, but it comes from the multinomial distribution. So this is Pij to the power ZPQS, where Q runs from 1 to L on the French side, P runs from 1 to L on the English side, and S goes over all the parallel settings. So this will be the correct likelihood expression. It is easier to deal with log likelihood because the products become sum. So this becomes a log likelihood. Now the summation over log is again difficult to deal with, but log is a concave function. Okay, minus log is a convex function. So we can take expectation of the log likelihood. Thereby the z parameter will become expectation of z parameter. Okay. All this is mathematically quite sound, well established. We don't have time to get into those details. And then we know the constraint that sigma Pij j equal to 1 to Vf has to be equal to 1. Every ith English word has to map to some jth French word. Okay, therefore sigma Pij is equal to 1. So when we want to introduce this Lagrangian and form a dual, okay, of the optimization function, then we have the expected log likelihood of the data minus the constant introducing the Lagrange multiplier. This when we differentiate with respect to Pij, because these are quantity of interest, then Pij comes out to be 1 by lambda into this quantity. And when we apply the other part of the constraint, which is sigma Pij equal to 1, then we obtain Pij equal to this quantity by this quantity. Now even though it looks quite daunting, okay, quite complicated, the intuition is very simple. Intuition is exactly what we did. How did we calculate the probability of mapping? This is nothing but this delta, which is the Kronecker delta function. This is actually counting the number of times I and j map to each other, okay, in any parallel settings. And the denominator is the normalizing factor, which captures anything that I maps to in the denominator. So this is simply the ratio of counts which we have seen through the rabbit example. And the expectation of z can be found from the formula probability of ij divided by probability of I to anything. Okay. This is also well established because expectation of z is nothing but probability into value of z. The values of z which are possible are 1 and 0. Okay. Therefore it becomes ratio of probabilities. So all these operations which we did are mathematically well founded, as this derivation shows. And the alignment problem can be solved by making use of machine learning. It has to be solved by machine learning using expectation maximization. Okay? Any question? This is a very important step in the statistical machine. Yeah.
Sir, course, not to do with this formula as such, but we are talking about this finding the probability of the mappings.
Yes.
And we are beginning with kind of a vocabulary on English side and the vocabulary on the French side, and the tokens we are using are the words. But as we saw in that Czech example, there the token actually or the mapping would be not at the word level, but it would be even at a smaller level.
Yes.
So does it apply as it is to that as well,
No.
or
No, it doesn't.
does it?
But you can always, of course, break the strings into characters and apply this there. Okay. However, word alignment has many other problems, which we'll see. So this is the derivation, and it shows that through this step we can obtain the alignments. Now we apply some combinatorial considerations. Suppose we take this sentence, Peter went to school early, Peter jaldi pathshala gaya. In absence of any knowledge, all mappings are possible. On the English side we have these words, on Hindi side also we have these words, and there are these phi's to denote that some mappings are not there. So 2, for example, doesn't map to anything. 2 maps to 5. 5 is introduced for that purpose. So in absence of any other knowledge, all words are, all mappings are possible. Any word can map to any other word. Now, how will Peter get mapped to Peter eventually? Can Peter get mapped to Peter eventually just from this sentence, just from one sentence? No, right?
No, sir.
No, you need more corpora. Okay? You need more parallel corpora, as we saw in case of rabbits. So, first fundamental requirement of SMT, statistical machine translation or machine learning based SMT, is that alignment requires evidence of firstly a translation pair to introduce the possibility of the mapping. Okay? For rabbit and lapa, rabbit and khargosh, to map to each other, first of all there has to be a pair which shows that mapping exists. Then another pair to establish with certainty this mapping. Okay, you need another pair to establish with certainty this mapping. First possibility, then certainty. How? How does this certainty come? One pair introduces the possibility, then I must have another pair. We must have a transition pair containing alignment candidates and none of the other words in the transition pair. So you must have a sentence in which rabbit and lapa do not appear. Okay? But all other words appear. Then from the first sentence and the second sentence you will know that rabbit and lapa have to be met. Okay? There is another possibility. We have a transition pair containing all words in the transition pair except the alignment candidates. Okay? So either a sentence where rabbit and lapa will appear again but no other words, or a sentence where all words appear but rabbit and lapa do not appear. Okay? So that will make the mapping certain. Now let's do a little bit of combinatorial argument. If m valid bilingual mappings exist in a translation pair, then an additional m-1 pairs of translations will decide these mappings with certainty. Okay? If m valid bilingual mappings exist in a translation pair, then an additional m-1 pairs of translation will decide these mappings with certainty. SMT system between two languages L1 and L2, let's do a rough estimate of the data. Assume no a priori linguistic or word knowledge, that is no meaning or grammatical properties of any words, phrases or sentences. Each language has a vocabulary of 100,000 words, that is a typical value for languages. Can give rise to about 500,000 word forms through various morphological processes, assuming each word appearing in 5 different forms on the average. For example, the word go appearing in go, going, went and gone. Okay. Synonymy on the target side. For example, to go in English can translate to jana, gaman karna, chalna, etc. in Hindi. A phenomenon called lexical choice or resistance. Polysemy on the source side. For example, to go translating to ho jana, as in her face when red in anger, उसका चेहरा गुस्से से लाल हो गया. So, word meanings are multiple on the source side. Word translations are multiple on the target side. So, we can also have syncretism when translating to gaya, gai or gaye. English is non-specific with respect to gender. Masculine gender, first or third person, singular number, past tense, non-progressive aspect, declarative mode. All these can introduce variations. So, can we, based on these considerations, estimate the corpora requirement? How much of corpora do we need? Assume that on an average a sentence is 10 words long. Reasonable assumption. An additional 9 translation pairs for getting at one of the 5 mappings. Okay, this implies 10 sentences per mapping per word. If first approximation puts the data requirement at 5 into 10 into 500,000, which is 25 million parallel sentences. So this estimate is not really off the mark because successful SMT systems like Google and Bing reportedly use hundreds of millions of transcripts. Okay, so if we do not apply morphological processing, okay, and if all the word forms are left as such intact, then we will need this kind of corpora, 25 million parallel sentences. And how much by corpora does our SMT system use? This Shatranuvada. It uses just 50,000 sentences. Just 50,000. How much does Google use? Google uses millions of parallel corpora. So, this argument, if you go over this carefully, you will see that this number 500,000 is based on the fact that no word is broken down into its simple form, into its root form. That is the requirement. So if we can do morphological processing, we can bring down the amount of training corpus required for machine learning. So we'll see that we have established this to our work on factor-based assembly. Now, statistical machine transfer systems which make use of linguistic information are known as factor-based assembly. Before we go further, is there any question?
Little generic question. The Vauquois triangle which you had shown. So let's say there is, I'm trying to wonder, it could be a rather silly question, that why are we trying to figure out the mapping from this language to that language versus, let's say, the approach we take in any computer language. You have any computer programming language and you kind of compile it or assemble it or whatever and you get an intermediate representation and then from there you go to another language. Yeah. So, or is it really something which is already captured in the Vauquois triangle that if you go all the way to the peak, then that is exactly what it will be? So.
No, I think you have a valid point. So, the whole point is that computer languages are far more simpler than natural languages. Okay.
You mean to say they don't have a well-defined grammar?
They have an extremely well-defined grammar. And it is so well-defined that you don't need any complex processing, unlike machine translation. So there is no example of word ambiguity in computer languages, for example. There is no example of structural ambiguity in computer languages except for one case, which is if-then-else construction. Okay. So natural languages are immensely complex because of various kinds of ambiguity. There is no coreference resolution in programming languages. There is no semantic role ambiguity in computer languages. So that is the reason why to deal with that.
So you said that during the parallel corpus taken was being taken, you took A and W and so why that way and means why? Can you please show the slide once again?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so the next one.
Yeah, but before that, the parallel corpus itself. So, A is easier to write in a table
No, no, no.
compared to
Sir,
3.
next slide. Next slide. Not this one. No, next one. This one.
This one.
So the columns, sir, A, B and W. W, X and you are taking B, C, D and X, Y, Z. Why this way and why not A, B, C and then W, X, Y and the other way around?
But that is the way the parallel corpus is given to me. So 3 rabbits,
Okay.
Freya Lapha, rabbits of Grenoble, Lapha the Grenoble.
Okay.
That's the parallel corpus. Okay, so we have just 15 minutes left. So let me quickly go over our work on linguistics driven statistical machine translation. So we have noticed that through our various evaluation of translation output that native speakers of a language are extremely unforgiving when it comes to function words. Okay, you can pardon errors on content word. Okay? You can tolerate transliteration. For example, you can say, you don't have to say, you really don't have to say, मैं पढ़ाई के लिए विश्वविद्यालय जाता हूँ, मैं विश्वविद्यालय में पढ़ता हूँ. You can say मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ता हूँ. Okay? But make any mistake on the function word. Instead of हूँ, say है. मैं विश्वविद्यालय में पढ़ता है. Immediately eyebrows will go up. Right? So native speakers are extremely unforgiving when it comes to function word translation. This is our observation again and again. So case marker and morphology is crucial when we translate from English to Indian languages. And we found that case marker and morphology were not coming correctly. How to solve this problem? We thought